welcome back to another episode of Venture Capital TV from LATOKEN. Happy Monday, all of you. Nice to see you back today on this week. And yes, today we're going to discuss about investments in cybersecurity. And we are here joined by Gary, Raghu, Karthik, and thanks for joining in again on your morning timings, like 7 a.m. Your timings, and again regular Karthik as well. Lubna as well join. Hi Lubna, great to see you. Great that you could join in a short notice. I really appreciate that. And happy Monday. Great to see you on the Asia panel, which is a Singapore panel. Like I'm the host. So basically, before going, into deep dive into the topic and introducing the speakers, let me just introduce myself. My name is Sunny Mohanty. I'm the regional director of LATOKEN, and LATOKEN hosts Venture Capital TV. And it's been over a year that since we have grown in terms of the investment base and the startup base. So great to have the speakers today who are very strong in the space. I know most of them. Lubna, you were first time on my show. Love to know more about you. Let's start with you because you've joined us for the first time, especially my show. Let's just start with you with your introduction and your background. You're looking lovely, by the way. Good morning.
Good morning. I have been out of. Well, it's nice to see everyone, and thank you for having me on your show. I'm Lubna Dajani. I am, as they call me, an original gangster of digital innovation. I've been in digital innovation transformation for some close to 30 years. Close up above or below, I forget my math now. And over, my interests have varied because at the heart of it, it's where technology meets humanity and the impact of it on our everyday life, and how do we apply it to simplify and create value, not add to the clutter as it so often has. Yeah. So relative to the topic today of security, a few years back, I've written a paper about I call it the alternate, with two L's, when all people, places, and environments are connected, aware, addressable, and so on. And the so what of that, when you stack up the technologies that were, I spoke about this in 2013, in the earlier 20s, 2012 or so. What happens when you stack all the connectedness and all the data that's being generated, then you stack the AI and all the different capabilities atop that. And that's when I talked about how important it's going to be to monitor, to take control of your data, and identity and security all get all mixed together. So I've shifted the focus to embedded security, and I work with a few companies companies that do hardware roots of trust, like a VIA puck technology, to the quantum-based key generation and distribution and what have you. So look forward to this panel.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lubna, for that introduction. And I'm glad that you could join us for this panel today. And thank you so much. Next, I have Raghu. Hi, Raghu. Welcome back to VCTV. I hope you had a great weekend. And thanks for being with us on a Monday panel at 7 a.m. your time.
Thank you, Sunny and VCTV. Really enjoy this early morning shows, so gets a day off on the right note. So thank you. I'm a serial entrepreneur, angel investor, and strategic advisor from Princeton, New Jersey. Nice to see all friends on here. I haven't seen Lubna in a while. So I think cybersecurity, as you know, is one of the core technologies that are needed across platforms. And given the stresses that are happening from the pandemic, some of these are, vulnerabilities have come to the fore. And it is something, if we are able to go to the next generation, technologies, cybersecurity is a core area that has to be addressed because of where we are going in the industry 4.0, as I say it. So.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's why we start our Monday talking about cybersecurity, identity, privacy, all in one session today. Thank you so much, Raghu, for that. Karthik.
Thank you so much for having me on a Monday afternoon from Dubai. I represent a couple of family offices, as I always mention, and I represent a venture fund based out of Saudi. I have active investment in cybersecurity with a business based out of India, and that's why I'm here to help understand a little more. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much. I'm just looking at those comments.
Yep. It's already buzzing, son. It's already buzzing. LATOKEN Pro, I love everybody.
I love you. I love everybody.
Messages like this, they make my afternoon. They make my afternoon when somebody tells me I love you.
This is good start to this morning,
Yeah, good job. It said
I think that had to do with your foundation statement, Karthik.
I think so.
You got things started.
All right. Okay. LATOKEN is Google.
Google.
Thank you so much for watching CTV. Really appreciate, and I'm really overwhelmed with the kind of comments coming through on the love shown to VCTV. Really appreciate our viewers. Great, Karthik. Done with Karthik. Gary, over to you, please.
Yeah, no, I don't know how to follow this up now. This is quite interesting. I feel like the dating game or something. We need some music now.
Wow, I don't feel like a Monday though, but anyways.
Yeah, exactly. My name's Gary Fowler, and I'm serial entrepreneur and investor. It's great to see my friends here. I've done 17 companies, 2 unicorns, original management team at Click Software. Was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai. I love artificial intelligence and quantum computing, focused on quantum and AI around the world because we believe intellectual capacity is evenly spread, but opportunities are not. And Raghu and I are working on a cybersecurity company.
Mm-hmm.
So that's me out.
You know, you haven't been around. I can't believe it. You know, Karthik got some foundation, and here we are.
And I heard Karthik was going to, I'm like, yes, I'm back.
Oh, it's good to see you again.
It's good to be
Great. Fantastic. Let's hear about the company that Raghu and Gary also working later in the show. And Lubna, maybe
I'll be joining them by the end, I'm sure.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. And don't leave us as well, Karthik and me. I mean, always happy to help. Awesome. Fantastic. Okay, we are set with introductions, a bit of a laugh. So we're all comfortable now. Let's go on to the questions. Let's start with the top trends in cybersecurity this year. Can I start with Raghu with this question? What are the top trends?
Sure. I think, as you know, in cybersecurity, there is so-called preventive approaches, and then there are reactive approaches. Preventive prevents some breaches, data system breaches happening. Reactive is once a breach happens, how do you do damage control? The latest trend is what we are calling decentralized security. The company that we're working on, SplitByte, is in that space. Is how do we, just like a vaccine, even though you're exposed, you don't get infected. The similar concept, the idea is a system breach does not result in a data breach. So that's one of the trends, decentralized security. Another one I would say is what they call segmentation or mesh architecture. The idea is that you kind of treat each area differently, and then somebody who gets in one place cannot kind of horizontally travel across the whole organization, but whatever that is, because it's very distributed now. So you kind of have these smaller nets, where you kind of try to prevent people from crossing over to the other areas. And so that's another one. The third one is what is called zero trust security, or it's also called the identity-based security, identity-first security. Right. The idea is that whoever you are, wherever you are, you'd be able to get in if you have the right identity to get at the access to the data. That has become very important with the work from home issues that have come up now because of the pandemic. So I would say those are some top trends.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that, Raghu. Karthik, your top trends?
So I would only add to what Raghu's been talking, because Raghu's spoken from a very technical point of view. If I look at it from a domain point of view, I think with 2020 the world becoming a little more online than it was, rather a lot more online than it was. We've been exposed to a lot of cybersecurity challenges, all the way from the banking space to a typical ransomware or malware coming to your operating systems, to
Uh, is Karthik breaking up, or is it me?
of distributed data networks, which primarily make sure that your entire operating networks either or manage security plan to a data breach, which necessarily infiltrates through Trojans into your network and provides data, leaks data to different organizations or different entities. Getting into where Middle East or maybe some part of Europe's already started seeing the IoT automation hacking, which necessarily creates filters out of your IoT devices and opens you up to vulnerabilities. I think we've seen a lot of the data privacy and cybersecurity breaches in the last few years, but where we as a business operate or where we as a business invest is typically into fintech cybersecurity or banking cybersecurity, which prevents breaches and filtration. We partner with 2 banks in the Middle East and 1 in India to create passwordless verification. So that's the kind of space we occupy and we build in.
Karthik, we lost you in between because of the fragile internet connectivity. While I take the question,
I wouldn't know. My challenge is I wouldn't know where I was lost. So maybe I would come in again once I'm needed on the second round.
Okay, cool. So Lubna, your insights now.
We gotta get Gary first.
Okay, Gary. Let's go Gary first. Sure. Gary, over to you, please. As Lubna says.
Yeah. So, I mean, look what's happened over the last year. So, as we've started to work remote and we've done online collaboration, everything's really intensified in the coronavirus pandemic. Cloud adoption has emerged as really the way that enterprises have been able to continue. So, with that great opportunity, I sound like Spider-Man. With great power is great responsibility, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But the rapid change has really introduced a whole host of new security threats and challenges. So, misconfigured cloud storage, visibility and control, incomplete data deletion, vulnerable cloud acts, et cetera. And then at the same time, we don't have enough resources in this from a cybersecurity perspective to be able really to get the job done. And as these cyber attacks continue to grow in intensity, AI, which is the new electricity, is set to help those really under-resourced security teams to be able to respond to the threat accordingly. So the other thing is, we talk about robotic process automation, but really we should be talking about security process automation. I've said this many times, that data around us is 40 zettabytes of data. And if you stack CDs one on top of another, it would go 29 times between Earth and the moon, growing at 67.8% per year. That's a lot of data that is out there that can be attacked. So the other challenge is there's a talent crunch. There's 3.5 million unfulfilled cybersecurity jobs estimated for 2021. That's up 350% from about 2012, 2013, a lot. So we need to get up to speed. We need to use AI to be able to help us out, security automation tools with its repetitive processes to be able to help. The other thing is I wrote an article a couple of years ago with my friend Rick Orloff about, the idea we need to be able to forecast where those vulnerabilities will be and plug them before they're a problem. That's where AI starts to become quite interesting. And of course, with quantum computers coming in, they're going to really, if you look at it, those quantum attacks can really penetrate virtually everything. That's why, Raghu and I really teamed up with SplitByte, because it's about quantum proofing cybersecurity. That's really the next generation where cybersecurity is going to go, decentralized approaches. Then, with the remote work culture, look at it. We were basically out of business and physically out of business, but we went online and digitally transformed. So the whole idea of secure access, service edge, SASE, which has allowed us to be able to enhance our work culture, adopt cloud technologies, collaborate better. That's really it's an entirely new way of being able to transform these land-based appliance models. So we see that coming out. And as I said, remote work. I mean, the world has dramatically changed since this digital transformation a year ago. 88% of global businesses mandate or encourage all of their employees, this is Gartner Group, to work from home during this pandemic. 88%. And what we're going to find is we're going to find companies start to adopt this hybrid model coming out of the pandemic. They're going to adopt a hybrid model because they understand they can't risk being so centralized anymore. They really need to have these decentralized teams, and they see now that it can be done and it can be done effectively. So again, that gives more opportunities for the bad actors to be able to get involved and do some or bad characters to do some not nice things. So anyhow, I could go on and on. I love cybersecurity, but for me, it's a matter of, we need to plug the holes before they're a problem.
Great top trends. We are going to drill down into each of the topic that you touched, like AI. I'm going to get into that. Also, the decentralized company that you both working. Will like to hear from you more after we take the opening remarks. The echo, I think it's echo. Sorry, echo is. I guess it's gone now. I just saw the message. I think it's gone. All right, Lubna, your turn, please.
Well, you see why I wanted Gary to speak. He can give a very good blanket. So, but security is a very big umbrella, and we use it to cover so many different areas. Very very often, some like privacy and security. Sometimes they fall under the same umbrella. However, one sometimes comes at or is perceived to come at the expense of the other. So. Some of the areas that I think are becoming more important, in addition to everything that the gentleman covered, is embedded security and enter-counterfeiting, traceability, and the role of as the surface attack is extended with all the connected devices, and as we are becoming more reliant on our digital realm, it obviously, as Tiara's point, becomes more attractive. So, so the use of decentralized and graph models, like graph database type implementations of systems and of security as well, down to the breaking it down to the identity and where the data and the security is around the individual or that node and the data relating to it. Is another trend and implementations that we're working on.
Sure. Thank you, Lubna. Great opening remarks from each of you. So, how has the pandemic? Obviously, cybersecurity is nothing new. Digital identity is nothing new. It's been all in place. But how has the pandemic impacted this industry? And what kind of impacts have we seen in 2020 and 2021? Raghu, let's start with you with this. You're on mute.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think the pandemic has highlighted the need for what I called about identity first or zero trust systems, because everybody is now working from home. Before the trends were to kind of secure your perimeter. People come into work and the work perimeter, whatever it is, the network perimeter was protected. But now people are working from all over the world. I mean, and you even if their home systems, everything needs to be protected. So the whole technology has gone more towards the endpoint security, and so there are different areas of the cybersecurity stack, and so that is one. The other part is that this data that is lying around all over the place, right? And as Gary was saying, it's exploding, the amount of data that we're handling. But a lot of the data is what is called dark data. That's like created once and never used again, never looked at again. And then there is second category of data, what Gartner calls ROT, which is redundant, occasionally used, and trivial data. This is stuff that even if they don't need to be protected as much, and this is about 75% of all data, right? So the other 25%, which includes sensitive data, is where I think we need to focus on protecting. So based on the types of data and the fact that we have distributed cloud-based storage systems, we need to evolve really a new architecture for cybersecurity. And one of the things that's happening is what is called privacy enhancing computation. That is another trend which I didn't mention. So that is, even if a system is breached, you still want to be able to protect the data, right? So this is about data privacy. There's data privacy, data availability, so there are different things. And then there's data integrity. Data integrity is handled by, databases and other things. Data privacy or security is what, you need. Even if the system is breached, you still need the data not to be breached. And third aspect is data availability, which is handled through decentralized redundancy systems. So if one system gets attacked by a distributed distributed DDoS type of attack, or like ransomware. Ransomware has become very rampant. So even if that system goes down, you should be able to operate, using other locations, kind of like a self-healing type of system. One node goes down, you generate another node, maintain your redundancy, and move on. I think that's I think the future. Decentralized, self-healing systems.
Right. Wow. That's great insights technically as well into the space. Kartik, let's hear it from you now.
So I would again agree with what Raghu's been saying. I think cybersecurity issues are not something that have just come in recently. It's something that's always been there with us right since the time the business started going online. But with 2020, business grew manifolds in the online space, all the way from e-commerce into banking, going cross-border transactions to the entire work culture and education sector moving online. Accessibility to data breaches, stacks, privacy, malware, and phishing, especially in the banking, insurance, and healthcare sectors, where a lot more vulnerabilities were exposed, has led to cybersecurity gaining, I would say, prominence in the current space. With respect to the entire businesses moving and transitioning online, it has found acceptance now, and that is where a lot of startups are coming in. If I were to give you a startup's perspective, and considering the fact that we have invested in the fintech space, in last, I would say 6 to 7 months, I would have seen 4 to 5 Indian startups and 3 Saudi startups in this space, and almost everyone associated with a captive banking organization or an insurance or a healthcare organization working either on a multi-factor authorization or a passwordless authorization, or into creating layered data access modules, or for that matter, even creating a GDPR compliant data modules, which necessarily keep consumer data either from the electronics, from the healthcare, or from the banking industry so tightly weaved, considering the malware and ransomware attack in this part of the world is extremely high. Managing integrity of the data and managing connectivity of the cloud is something that's that much more challenging, which is where, and these all of them have come in from the technical route as offshoots of the banking businesses or the insurance businesses have got themselves invested with anything in the region of $400,000 to $600,000, and today have already started reaching a Series B funding. So not only the business and the growth is exponential, but also the pace or the route to market is that much faster and that much quicker.
Thank you, because of the pandemic. Thank you so much. Gary, let's go with you next. How has the pandemic impacted the space and the industry? Gary, you are on mute.
Sorry about that. I mean, if we look at it, I mean, this is a great opportunity. I mean, as we've increased, remember at the beginning of the pandemic, there were Zoom hacks. I actually had a Zoom call in the beginning of the pandemic, and it was unbelievable how we got Zoom bombed. And so the security measures weren't in place because at the time, Zoom only had 30 million users around the world. They weren't set up for that massive amount of new users. So going up to almost 400 million daily users today. Then you look at it, people working through at their homes, the increase in the breaches compared to 2019 and through 2020 was up about almost 300%, 300. So just one hacker, I was reading an article that stole like 35 million records from companies in 2020 from 17 companies. There's a lot of challenges out there. We don't think about it. We were so anxious to get online to keep working, we forgot about what the ramifications. And then the other thing, think about this, Sonny. Each one of us here on the panel has about 300,000 items in your personal cloud. So, let's put it in comparison. The entire web in 1996 was 257,000 websites. That number doubles every year. In 5 years with the Internet of Things, everybody on this panel will have about, on average, 10 million items. Now think about it. Just think about that data. How much exposure you have, then how many times do you use really simple passwords, right? Why? Because you forget. You just don't remember. Well, and many people don't want to use the one login stuff because they don't want to take a chance that one person could use one login to get everything very quickly. So there are challenges out there that we need to resolve. Our own personal data, just one fact, think about it. How many times every week do you say, I know a file exists, but I can't find it? Why? I've either forgotten a location or the keywords. It's unbelievable. Where did you send it to me? I don't remember seeing it. Can you send it again? Why? Because you don't know if it's in Telegram, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, LinkedIn, Slack, which email address. We're in a state, and I know Raghu likes this, infobesity. We're in a state of infobesity. So, as we go forward with our lives, we need to make sure that we're protecting ourselves proactively. So we need tools that help us predict where the next threat's going to come in and to be able to adapt accordingly before it's a problem. So that's where it becomes interesting. And we talk, Raghu talked about split byte and decentralized, but think about it. If a quantum computers today, and not the fastest one, is 100 million times faster than a supercomputer. Put into perspective, what would take 10,000 years on a supercomputer takes 200 seconds on a quantum. So do you think it's going to be a problem? Hello, this is like simple. This is I'm a country boy from Pennsylvania. This is keep it simple, stupid. If something's that fast, nothing good's going to happen. So what we need to do is be proactive. We need to now understand for 1 year we've been through this pandemic. We've had to do incredible things with AI, from modeling to come up with these vaccines, to be able to go remote. But we have to protect ourselves. We better do it sooner than later, because nothing good will happen if it's not done.
Great points there, Gary. Absolutely. 1 year into the pandemic. Very
good. It seems like 10 years, doesn't it, Sonny?
It does.
Do you remember the old days when we couldn't get toilet paper?
No. It feels like more than a decade.
Funny now. Hey, Sonny, it's funny now, but it wasn't funny a year ago, was it?
I know. Oh my God. People killed me for writing something on Facebook.
It was funny. Showers looked a lot better then.
It's exactly a year since the Middle East went into lockdown, 27th, 28th of March. Exactly 365 days. And I'm still sitting at home doing things online, which is really strange.
Well, but you're a lot more effective. Think about it. Here we are in New Jersey. Dubai, I don't know, Lubna, are you in New York or where are you today? You never know where Lubna is.
Well, I'm in New Jersey today. I was in
New Jersey, Singapore. This is different because of the digital transformation. We can access anybody at any time, anywhere. It's really beautiful. We've become much more efficient. We've had, what would have taken 10 years is what McKinsey said, had to happen in a matter of months in order for business to continue.
Absolutely.
In the Middle East, it's an Arab saying, and Lubna would know this, that Arabs, we don't do business with anybody till the time we see them, meet them, and understand their body language. So for me to do business with anybody online and that to invest with them is an extremely difficult, because I wouldn't know how that person's going to behave. It's taken me 12 to 15 failed attempts to make an investment with somebody on online forums. Yeah, maybe learning it.
It's you have to break bread with them together, really, to establish the trust impact. But indeed, the pandemic has had a significant impact on adoption of technology in general. and the digital realm. Our transformation from being Homo sapiens to being Homo sapiens. I say we've been moving to it ever, for the last however many years. But I think the pandemic has given us, I'd say, about a rate of a year per month. And if we go into lockdowns for longer than a year, then I'd say it's a year and a half per month in terms of how fast we have made the mind shifts needed to transition to, because having video telephony and all the things that we're adopting now like crazy, we've had that for like 25, 30 years almost. It's not new. It's just that these lockdowns and this last year has taught us that all the things that we thought we can and can do are no longer, are all in our head. And as we increase our adoption of data services and the digital realm, so the increase in the attacks, which is what the alternate paper was all about. As we get more connected, there's more data that's being generated, not just by us, but by the systems that are needed to be established to facilitate that communications. And technology is a stack. So security, particularly, has to happen at each layer of the stack. So how do we establish what I used to call digital trust from silicon through to service delivery? And don't forget, when we're talking about silicon through to service delivery, then we're talking about up and down the stack of technology, and then up all around the individuals that are interacting with the machines, so that it's the physical security, and all that comes together. Traditionally, security has been either for the very important, it's either governments or big enterprises, and for the most part, security was by obscurity rather than by design. And that's a challenge the security industries had to deal with, because as we had more adoption of connected devices, IoT, you want to call it, I call it alternate, because it's not just things connected, things, environments, people. I have a chip in my hand, the guys know. Then it's much more attractive, and there are many more on-ramps into the network, so that you can for hackers, and it becomes much more attractive because there's a whole lot more there to engage with. So that's why we have an enormous opportunity. That's why there needs to be a lot more people going into security, because you have to establish it at so many layers, and security itself has many. There are many things that we cover under the umbrella security. We've touched, whether it's identity, whether it's authentication, whether it's access, so many things. And to what level do you want the data? Some data you want fully exposed, because that's the whole point of marketing the data, is you want it to go out there and you want people to know about it. But there's so many levels and layers to it. But the pandemic most certainly has changed us and accelerated our adoption of the technology, and therefore accelerated the need for security that is modeled to reflect the way we're interacting. So it's at rest, it's in motion, it is distributed, it is quantum, and finally, security is sexy.
Indeed.
Wait a minute. This show's going a lot of different directions today. Foundation, lipstick, sexy. Where are we going with this thing?
So basically, make security sexy. I never thought it would be before, but yes, it is now.
We do, don't we, Raghu? Split bite.
Anything that Gary and Raghu touch, it's what happens.
Ooh. Oh, I'm going to have Gary and Raghu.
Wait, this is Friday afternoon, isn't it?
You can make it a Friday afternoon. You can feel a Monday like a Friday. I mean, whatever.
Last Friday, you made me play Shakira songs. You remember? Last Friday, I was playing Shakira songs.
Yes. I know, guys, I'm a big fan of Mondays. I was one of the founders of Mobile Mondays. So maybe this is going to be, the sunny Monday.
Oh, lovely.
There we go.
Ooh, see, look at Luca. She's already in the Friday mood for a Monday.
No, it's not coffee now, is it?
Yeah. So back to loving Mondays now. Awesome, fantastic. Great.
Sunny Monday show.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Right. Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Lubna. Thank you for making it fun, humorous, informative, and very engaging as well. I'm loving it very much for a Monday. Okay, talking about investors, talking about startups. So we've spoken about the trends, we've spoken about how the pandemic has impacted this industry. So maybe Raghu, a question for you, because you and Gary are working together in a company together as a cybersecurity company.
You're laughing now, Sonny. What are you thinking about?
No,
Where are we going with this thing?
Lubna is gone, guys. It was
He's back.
all right. Let's just come back to
This is a different kind of party now.
Sorry, I broke. Oh my god, due to laughter in the middle of my question. All right, that's what VCTV does to us, you know. Thank you so much for that. But yes, talking about that startup that you both are working on in the cybersecurity space. So what are as an investor, what are you looking for in cybersecurity startups in this year, in 2021? So you must have chosen this startup because of some best practices or some sort of attributes that you've seen. So Raghu, you can start with your use case.
Yeah, I think the use case is how can you be proactive? How do we do the stuff that this is called safe harbor protection. The idea is even if you get breached, the system gets breached, you don't have to worry about data breach and don't have to go reporting, send all these notices. Even if the data actually wasn't breached, you have to send because of compliance reasons. So how can you get to a place where the data is kind of you can prove that it is mathematically prove that it is, unless they got to multiple locations, they cannot actually have breached the data. So one location going down, it doesn't matter. You just kind of take it out of your equation and move on, right? So that is the decentralized security. That's the very first thing. The idea is you have data availability, but the data is secure, and so you don't have to worry about having to report, and that is the compliance is a very big aspect. So the compliance, but compliance comes with other things, right? There is the privacy compliance is one part of it. There is also compliance that came in after the Enron days, where you cannot just put the data away. You have to be able to pull the data back if there is some kind of law enforcement or litigation. So there is e-discovery compliance, where you need to actually be able to go back 7 years and pull data as evidence. So how do you deal with this deletion that is required by privacy, where if somebody asks you, you have to delete all their data, you have to get it out of the system. But the conflicting requirement is you need to be able to get the data back, which is also a legal compliance issue. So that's one of the things that SplitByte addresses, where we can put the data away, the data to be deleted to comply with the privacy laws like GDPR and CCPA. But if you need to comply with the e-discovery, there is a way to retrieve it, not necessarily back in the same company, but to the people who need to see it, right? For law enforcement or litigation. So there's a way to balance between the two conflicting, compliance requirements. I think so. That is I think one of the key aspects. And of course, we use something called distributed secret sharing, and that's at the kind of if you draw a Venn diagram of data availability, data privacy, and data integrity, it's right smack in the middle. It covers all the three areas, whereas most of the other technologies either have vulnerabilities in one or the other parts. They may do one part well, but not the other part, right? So this particular technology doesn't use keys, so it's called keyless encryption. So the key management is a big issue. It's kind of like saying you have a safe at home, and everything is in there. And if somebody knows the combination or is able to blast open the safe, it doesn't, especially with the quantum type of blasting now, it's very easy to do that. Whereas if you had taken that stuff and put it away in banks all over the place, right, even if they come into your home, there's nothing for them to steal. They have to go to different banks, deal with their securities, And so that's what Split Byte is doing in the digital world.
So it's Split Byte, BYTE, is it?
Correct.
And were they already funded before you working on this together, or is it your baby? Like both of you just started from scratch?
No, it's the technology has been built over the last few years, and from founder funding, and now we are coming out of stealth mode.
And looking for funding. So if your question is in terms of funding, there's a round going to be open shortly to be able to invest in the technology.
Split Byte, and it's incorporated out of US.
Yes, it's a Delaware corporation in the US. Yeah.
Oh, I could see Raghu, Sakib, Arvind. Fantastic. Great. Good to see that. Okay, thank you so much, Raghu. Karthik, your insights about what investors are looking in this cybersecurity startups, and we have a live use case coming from Starbytes.
So we also have a similar investment use case with a bank in fintech cybersecurity. So over the last few years, all of us have accepted the fact that we cannot prevent cybersecurity attacks and we cannot win over them. So it's a necessary evil that's going to exist and we need to live with it, which necessarily brings us to the next question: how would we evaluate and how would we invest in a startup? So we look at it from a very different technology stack or from a heavy tech armament point of view, and figure out that is the technology strong enough to be progressive to make sure that while it doesn't necessarily prevent attacks, it keeps the business continuity going. It necessarily creates a layer of continuity which allows business to run, and with a lot of artificial intelligence and learning necessarily builds protection shields in a manner that it doesn't allow, especially in the banking business. While we work with certain banks on 7-layer securities and 8-layer securities, we still are not being able to protect cybersecurity attacks. One of our clients, which is a very large banking body, had a $780,000 or $800,000 siphoning that happened 7 to 8 days ago, despite all the cybersecurity systems that were installed. One of our startups was also involved in it. But what it necessarily did is, in 8 to 12 minutes of the entire attack, the banking infrastructure was live and necessarily running, which makes it sure that your entire operating network is built on multiple servers, multiple platforms, that makes sure that despite any ransomware or despite any threat of any nature, the system automatically decouples and moves on to the next layer of functionality. That's one. Second, it builds in automated firewalls in a manner that an attack of the same type, if repeated, most of the cybersecurity attacks in the banking industry are in multiples of 24 to 36. So you will have 36 different attacks or 24 different attacks, especially in this part, originating either from Central Africa or from Southeast Asia, which continuously hit your network, trying to figure out a porous system which allows a breach. An artificial intelligence governed platform which not only makes sure that your business runs, but also prevents any further breach of a particular nature. So the breach needs to continuously auto-evolve compared to the pace at which your security platform evolves, is where we look at it, specifically from a banking point of view. From a health tech point of view, I wouldn't have much understanding, but from a banking point of view, this is how we evolve, how we work. There is a lot of working on what Raghu was talking about. A keyless is a passwordless verification that we are working on in certain use cases. We haven't been successful. There is a startup that's been incubated in working captively for 2 banks, which is working. Basically it's a State Bank of India that has taken a captive startup or a captive developer to build a passwordless navigation, or passwordless authorization for them. We're trying to see if that succeeds. Then we would use that as a use case in Middle East.
Right. Great sharing there, Karthik. Thank you so much. So Gary, coming over to you, would you like to add something to what just Raghu said? Coming from, because obviously Starbytes is looking for funding. Could you share more?
Yeah, Split Byte, Sonny.
Sorry, Split Bytes. Sorry,
But I like the Starbyte. It sounds like a candy. Kind of a seafood kind of taffy thing. I don't know, something like that. Split Byte, yeah. So I mean, the situation is we need to prepare now. We are in disarray with the current security offerings that are out there, and having these decentralized approaches to be able to thwart quantum attacks and getting those in place now while we are in the state of infobesity is critically important. It's just, this is like, as I say, keep it simple, stupid. If you have attacks, you've got a chance to be able to defend against it by actually decentralizing it. Now's the time. So that's it. I mean, it's simple, but it's something that we don't think about. It's interesting. There's things in our lives we don't want to think about that are critically important for us. It's just, we move on to something next. But this is the people that don't do it are going to be in jeopardy. Companies that don't do it have a great chance they'll be out of business, because when these new systems and the AI that's coming out now starts to go down through and probe, it's going to be like nothing we've ever seen. So, now's the time.
Right. Thank you, Gary, for those insights as well. Adding on to Raghu's, Lubna, let's hear it from you about what investors are looking for in a startup in the cybersecurity space, especially focusing on 2021.
Anything that makes them money quickly.
Oh,
There's room for innovation up and down the stack. So, like for example, from the Horizon 2020, the NGI Trust project that which we funded several companies. We've had 3 open calls, and it's anything that is a lot on trust enhancing. So the use of so like one of the companies, at least I'm not also involved with, from as a coach, because we Horizon assigns you as well coaches. It is in fact in quantum key generation and distribution. So it's not just defending against quantum, but it's also using quantum technology and quantum physics to in the protection mechanism. So that's one company and that's one area I think that is really important. The other area involved in 2 hardware-based security companies. One that is making physical hardware, like a hardware, like a cold wallet, and a small, embedded security base. The other one, it gets even a bit more technical, or rather closer to the hardware, and it's about the root key and root key generation based on the physical characteristics of the chip itself. So using the via holes, and with the ICTK, this technology is very interesting, because even if you go and probe the device, you damage the key. And at the end of the day, there is the root key, the root trust is a very important, as you use it to sign up the chain. So there are rooms to innovate up and down the chain, depending on is it in at what layer, and every layer of the stack of the communication stack, you have different aspects of security that you need to consider. There's a lot of focus in supply chain. So if you want to talk about transparency, if you want to talk about traceability and what have you, all that doesn't exist in a vacuum outside of an underlying digital trust enabler. And the other area that we're quite active in is self-sovereign identity. And self-sovereign identity is, again, another topic that sometimes falls under security.
yeah, sure.
It's a part of it, yeah?
Yeah.
And we often, and the differentiation between identity and identification, but there's a lot of really good work happening also from a standards point of view at IEEE and W3C and the rest of on the area.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lubna, for sharing those insights with our viewers as well. I think great information coming out from this panel today. Another important question I have, because if we are investing into the startups, then we would also like to know, people who are looking to probably join the space, join the industry, what skills, what are the fastest growing skills in cybersecurity into 2021? So what are the skills as an investor who are going to, looking to investee companies for their staff? Like Raghu, let's start with you. I mean, I hope you got my question. I'm just looking for skills.
Yeah, I think so. I think see, one of the things that areas that is very important right now is calling mimic and detect systems. This is where the AI comes in. So you essentially try to mimic how the attack will happen, right? So there's a simulation in AI. So the AI is obviously very, very important. These are called MDS systems. CrowdStrike, you might have heard of one of the companies.
Yes.
So the idea is you try to kind of get into the the shoes of an attacker, or which can be a state actor now. It's not some guy sitting in his basement. It could be a whole country attacking another country, right? So, and you don't know where it is coming from. So how do you do this, mimic these systems? So AI is very big in that, just like what Lubna was saying. Quantum computing and AI don't have to be only for, they're actually going to be used for attacking as well. So you need to use them for protection. So that's the next kind of thing we are going into, right? The next realm where, now we are, it's a different kind of warfare. And to be prepared for that, I think AI, data science are very, very important. And of course, cybersecurity itself, the training in terms of cybersecurity training, we are lacking the personnel, as Gary had mentioned. And so, in addition to whatever areas that you are specialized in, you can easily get, additional training. It's also available. A lot of very good programs are now free because of online education. It's not something that difficult to get, basic understanding of the issues in cybersecurity, and that's very important. One of the other things that's happening is all the companies, especially public companies, now are requiring cybersecurity governance to be part of their board. So I think about 40% of the companies now have a cybersecurity committee, just like you have audit committee and compensation committee, because this has become so important to the businesses, viability, and being able to continue. As I think Karthik was saying, it's not about it's a continuous thing. It's not anymore like you do audit once a year or once a quarter. You have to be continuously, in microseconds, the whole thing might blow over if you didn't stop an attack. So the continuous monitoring area, which means you need to also know about, it's the different layers that Lubna is talking about. There is network layer, there is data layer, there is cloud, distribution layer. So there is a lot of areas where you might specialize in, but you need to understand cybersecurity, how it impacts cybersecurity. So you get additional training about the cybersecurity attacks and data protection methods, in addition to whatever area you're specializing in.
So AI, data science, cybersecurity training. Thank you so
much. Cloud security is very hot. So
cloud security as well. Okay, thank you, Raghu, for sharing that. Karthik, over to you, please.
So it's exactly like playing Scotland Yard. If you've ever played Scotland Yard, you'd realize that you're 5 people trying to outsmart a thief, and you still, on 70% of the instances, lose the battle. Not because you're weak, not because the other guy is smarter, but it's because you're always reactive. And cybersecurity, unfortunately, today's business is still a very reactive domain, which means you would only come to know after it has happened. Irrespective of the number of walls you build, somebody is going to breach that wall and you'll have to build another wall tomorrow. So it's about agility, how quick you are, how technically sound and how technically well built your entire ecosystem is. More importantly, do you have progressive ecosystem? While you're building a wall for tomorrow, you need to simulate and you need to be ready to build a wall for tomorrow and the day after, so as to make sure that you're continuously not at the mercy of a pirate. More importantly, from a business point of view, we've realized that while there are a lot of cybersecurity businesses in different parts of the world, they necessarily need to find a captive audience or a captive business that sponsors them. Otherwise, there are far too many solutions in the market, and one tries to outsmart the other. So at the end of the day, there's only one guy who wins, irrespective of 10 people coming out into the market to build the same passwordless verification. There's only one guy who's going to win. So you might as well begin with the end in mind and have a captive client with whom you're working. Your chances of success and your chances of incubating and being handheld are much higher. And the most important is your technical efficiency. It's a hardcore technical game. Unlike an e-commerce startup where a smart idea, or a innovation food startup where a smart thought would give you business, unfortunately, it's about how superior your technical prowess is that will give you success. So that's how I look at it from a business point of view.
Right. Great points there. Thank you, Karthik. Gary, would you like to obviously add on to what Raghu and Karthik just mentioned? Gary, you have to unmute yourself.
AI and data sciences are critically important, as Raghu said, and
Yeah.
Karthik, and cloud security. It's just, where there's a big shortage right now. We need to go out. People need to understand if they want a great opportunity with a stellar future. Being into cybersecurity is really important. So I would just say stop talking and start doing. Go out, get your training,
Yeah.
and corporations that are listening out there today, the bad characters looking at you and they're looking at coming in. You better do something before it's too late.
Great. Bad characters looking at us. Thank you, Gary. Lubna, over to you.
Well, the gentleman covered it all. I think
Yeah.
I will just re-emphasize again that even when we think about AI and security, and I keep going back to the embedded, because you have also embedded AI and the design, even the way where the chipsets are being designed to communicate within there's security being and AI being implemented at the hardware level to ensure security even between the processors. So it's there's a lot of room for work in security, and there's a lot of need for it. But I think more importantly, we need to probably also zoom out a bit, and start establishing new business models and new thinking that would make it a bit less attractive to reach the security of our systems than it is to create new value streams with it. So
Something Lubna said triggered a thought, like machine to machine authentication, because there's a lot of machine to machine communication happening. It's not just about authenticating humans anymore. So I think that is another area which, with all these robotics and automated processes happening, you have to also authenticate machines. So you have behavioral authentication for humans, but for machines, we need better ways to authenticate machines, machine to machine communication.
Machine to machine communication. Great. Thank you. Thank you for adding those insights for our viewers, for our audience. Great information coming out from this panel. So we come to the end of this session, and I would like to take some closing remarks from all our speakers. I'd like to start with Lubna, who has just joined the Asia VCTV panel for the first time. Lubna, how was your experience so far on VCTV and your experience at VCTV Asia?
well, I love VCTV, and I have been out this whole year because I've had some unfortunate circumstance with my family, and over this beginning of this year it's been a bit tough. But it's the delight to be back, and it's really wonderful to be on your show, Sonny. I look forward to being invited again, I hope.
Fantastic. Good to hear that always. Thank you, Lubna, for your participation today. Raghu, your closing remarks for the topic and the show today.
Thank you, Sunny. I always enjoy these shows. I think I learn a lot more than, hopefully I'm contributing something, but I definitely learn a lot on these shows. I think cybersecurity is a core area, as I mentioned, for the next generation of, technologies. And so we have to, this is an exciting area for, entrepreneurs to get into. One of the trends that Karthik was talking about is consolidation, because too many technologies, it's hard for corporations to adopt, right? So you have to kind of figure out what you're doing. How does it fit in with some of the existing systems? That's something to consider for entrepreneurs when they get in, so that it needs to kind of fit into this stack, as Lubna is saying. So,
right. Thank you, Raghu. Thank you so much. Karthik, over to you.
Thank you so much for hosting me once again, and the fact that it's the 95th episode with all of you means that I really love this place. 95 is a lot of times. In terms of my last closing remarks on the topic, I think cybersecurity, like any other businesses which have moved online, is going to be a mainstay for the next few years till the time we start getting into a preventive mode and not a reactive mode. Lot of active interest from startups, a lot of opportunities for startups, but this is a technical space. So people who come in for the long haul and people who come with very strong technical solutions would survive. The rest at some point would wither out or be taken over.
Mm. Great points as always. Thank you, Karthik. Gary.
Yeah, when we have the moniker with the police of serve and protect, and that's really where we are with AI. I mean, we're coming to that level where it's going to be that sophisticated. So this is a great opportunity. These are challenging but interesting times. We now have going through the beginning parts of the digital transformation. We need to now step up with our cybersecurity. It's a great time. So I'm encouraged by it. I'm excited about it, and I love it. And I love Sunny Mondays.
Oh, Sunny Mondays.
So
Thank
it's
you.
great to be here. People can reach me on LinkedIn. They can reach. Somebody just wrote nice. They can reach me on LinkedIn, Gary Fowler. They can reach me on Facebook or Twitter. So reach out if you got a really cool startup. You're looking to go global. Catch up. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for making my Monday, so much fun. I mean, I would never expect any other Monday to be anything else rather than this. Starting my week on a very pleasant note. Thank you so much, Gary, Lubna, Karthik, and Raghu. And yeah, I look forward to see you again on another episode of VCTV soon. Till then, keep watching VCTV and take care of yourself.